Hi, welcome back to another weekly horoscope video. We are fully in the last month of 2025 now, and it's time to clear out the old fully to step into the new. As you probably know, if you've been watching these videos every week with me, Chiron has been challenging Jupiter for the last couple months, and it's going to peak for the last time on December 20th. So we are still kind of feeling that energy of old wounds around our identity, around our sense of self being triggered, so we can really expand in ways that are ultimately better for us and what we need in order to feel nurtured and supported in our homes and our sense of self and our identity moving forward. So if you've been feeling like there's a lot of childhood stuff coming up to the surface and things you maybe thought you had already worked through and healed still coming up to be looked at a deeper level and in a deeper way, that is why. Because we still have this energy. It peaked back at the end of October, and like I said, it's going to peak again on December 20th, so we still kind of have it going on. Also, at the beginning of the year, Chiron is going to leave retrograde, so that will really be about externalizing this new identity that we've stepped into, that all of these wounds and triggers that are coming up right now for a final time are going to help us to step into, because we're literally cleaning out the clutter of the old. So we can have the new on a solid foundation and really move into the new chapter of our lives. I feel like I've been talking about this every week with this fully new, integrated, embodied energy in ways that maybe we were lacking before in just subtle kind of ways, for lack of a better word. Because I feel like I just said ways a lot. But yeah, that's the major energy for this week, is really starting to move forward again, because November was a big month with Mercury retrograde in the signs that it was a big month of reevaluation, of kind of a slowdown. And we've been in that the kind of first week of December a little bit still, as we're coming out of the fog, as we're coming out of all of these things that have been affecting us in ways to bring up those triggers and wounds, like I said, in deeper ways. So we can see what's still there to be loved on, to be healed, to be integrated and embodied about ourselves, so we can really move forward with no old baggage. So this week we're going to start off with the moon in Leo. There's a lot going on Monday. If you saw my update on TikTok, I feel like Mondays have been really heavy with transits the really all year. I feel like every Monday there's a lot going on. So Monday starts off with kind of a lot being activated in where you have Aries and Chiron in your chart, also where you have fire signs in your chart. So check your chart for what houses are ruled by those signs. For more about what area of life it could be showing up for you most, which we'll cover in the horoscopes. But it also depends on what you have going on there, as you probably know, what you have in those signs for how it's affecting you on an individual level, as the horoscopes are really just generalized. So yeah, we start off with the moon in Leo. It's going to activate deeper things for us to really look at about how do we need to bring more joy to our lives, and how can we live more in a greater alignment with our joy and with our playful energy and with maybe things that we needed during our childhood that we maybe didn't get. And now that we are adults, we can give to ourselves and nurture that part of ourselves that's been craving it the whole time. So a lot's going to be activated at the start of the week. And then as we get later into the week, we have the third quarter moon, I believe, happening in Virgo, which is going to be about taking action. It's going to be close to the South Node as well. The South Node and the North Node are what trigger eclipses. So this week, as we get later into the end of the week, is going to be about kind of, again, what needs more cleanup around our mindset and things, as we also have Mercury moving back into Sagittarius. So Mercury is still post shadow, and that will add to the energy as well of needing to, again, clean up whatever is standing in our way related to our belief systems or how we're viewing life, from a mental place, from a mindset place, and what needs further cleanup and refinement in order to move forward into this next chapter as we start the calendar new year, as I like to call it, because I don't believe the new year truly starts until the Lunar New Year and until I was talking about this somewhere recently. I don't remember where. Maybe it was my update last week, but I feel like the new year doesn't fully start. The energy of a new year doesn't fully start until the Lunar New Year and then fully when we're in Aries season. But that's for another video. So this week is really about starting to come out of the fog of what we've been reevaluating, of what we've been needing to rest so we can heal, and starting to take more action towards this new chapter, this new beginning. So that is this upcoming week in general. Is there anything else I want to say about this upcoming week before we get into the horoscopes? Yes, because we're gonna have the final Mercury Uranus opposition at the start of the week as well. I believe that will peak on Tuesday. Wednesday is when it'll actually peak. Wednesday, the 10th. So that again is this final kind of look at what about our mindset related to what is changing in our lives, maybe for a lot of us money stuff, personal transformation or personal sense of empowerment. What further needs a shift in our mindset related to those things so we can step into the new from an empowered place, and from a place of realizing that we are responsible for what we create in our lives and we're responsible for what we do with what happens in our lives and what we create from that place. So that could also be a theme, big theme come the middle of the week, is that's going to be the final activation of Uranus and Taurus from the Scorpio side. So without further ado, let's get into the horoscopes. Aries, hi Aries. We start your week off with the moon in your area of creative passions. So there's a big focus on what you're creating, what you're taking action on, maybe around something that was a big theme for you over the summer. There's an emotional charge, there's an emotional push for you to really take action on something and create something in your life, maybe put it out into the world. Whatever your creative passion is that you've been building and that you've been wanting to take action on, it feels like this is the time to do it. And it might also bring up these kind of old identity things for you. And this need to really shift your mindset around it, your perspective of how you're viewing everything, and really rely heavily on your intuition. And trust that the action that you take is what you're meant to be doing and it will lead you to the next step. We don't need to have all the answers in order to move forward. We just need to have that intuitive knowing of what is our next step right now, and then we will get the next step and the next step and the next step, right? But don't stop yourself from taking action before you have all the information. Like, take action based on what is up, what is in your awareness right now, what is coming up for you right now. There could be some big healing around that for you on Tuesday, maybe through taking action on whatever this is, that kind of heals your perspective of like, oh, I just needed to view it this way, or I could have seen it this way the whole time. It feels like on Wednesday, especially, there could be this big shift within your finances, within your resources, maybe related to debt or taxes, or maybe your money mindsets, how you're viewing money, resources, and things of that nature that really support you in this life, maybe through your creative passions or what you're doing. That feels like there's a big shift around that on Wednesday. There could also be something later on Wednesday that shifts within like what you do for work or how you view your work, maybe health related or physical, like routines related to how you take care of yourself as well. There could be a shift related to all of that with your what you do on a daily basis to take care of yourself as well. Then on Thursday, it kind of feels like there's more release in that area of your life. Maybe you're releasing an old habit that you just doesn't resonate with you anymore, or doesn't feel like it serves you in the ways that it used to. And there could be further shifts around that on Thursday and what you're kind of doing to really take care of yourself, mental and physical and spiritual health. Then as we get into Friday, Mercury is in Sagittarius now once again, and in your area of how you view the world around you, your mindsets. There's an emotional focus as well starting on Friday, with your relationships and who's around you, who you're spending time around, what information you're gathering from the people you spend time around, maybe what you're talking about with those people. It feels like there's a big focus on that, maybe making some transformations to that, maybe making some changes to your community. Could also be your relationship with social media and just who you're choosing to surround yourself with. It feels like your mindset is really challenged this whole week, and really bringing up things are really being brought up to look at within your subconscious of like, okay, do you want to keep viewing it this way? Do you want to keep talking about these things in that way, or do you really want to change and transform what's going on in your inner world to change and transform what's happening in your outer world as a result of your inner world? There could be more about that is triggered as we get into the weekend, as the emotional focus continues to be on your relationships and the people around you. This could Saturday into Sunday kind of trigger things related to your identity, your sense of self, and maybe these things that have been changing about you, these new ways of presenting yourself or sharing yourself with the world that you've been stepping into, could be triggered through your relationships in an emotional way, especially as we get into Sunday, and the moon challenges Jupiter in your area of home. There could be something about that comes up with home or with family dynamics, either someone you live with or from childhood or something like that. But again, all of this is kind of triggered so that it comes to the surface, like I talked about at the beginning of the video, to trigger what still is left to clean up about these old ways of being and these old ways of doing things so that you don't take them with you into the new year. Could also, as we end out the week, get a lot of messages through your dreams. So pay attention to that, Aries. And that's your week ahead. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Taurus Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of home and family. You could be emotionally focused on that at the start of the week, maybe what's going on in your home or your family, maybe doing some more creative things with your home or with your family, maybe even with resources too. Kind of cleaning things up with your resources or shifting what you're doing with money, how you're spending it, what you're paying off, where you're putting it, how you're investing it. There could be this big focus this week, especially on your external resources like investments, taxes, things like that. And there could be some more creative ways that you're realizing you want to go about any changes you're making to your financial picture. Especially on Tuesday, there could be this kind of breakthrough, maybe related to what's going on in your home or your family. It's also kind of bringing up wounds related to childhood and your identity that was kind of formed when you were young, and how that's seeped into your communication styles that are maybe being triggered and brought up to show you what you still want to shift about your mindset and your communication. On Tuesday, there could be something that you shift, especially, I think I already said this, but there's a big focus on Tuesday with your resources, maybe shifting something there. This could be related to a long-term goal or vision, and kind of needing to or realizing you kind of need to be creative about this thing and what you want to do with it moving forward. There could be an insight or a breakthrough that comes through a person in your life, maybe an important relationship, somebody you consider a close friend or a partner, whoever. There could be this breakthrough that happens in a conversation you have with somebody in your life, related to all of these changes that you want to make. Like, it feels like you're kind of brainstorming maybe with people, or just volunteering information to people, and you're getting maybe some ideas or feedback about what to do, that's going to be more beneficial for you moving forward. I think Wednesday there's going to be some insights and breakthroughs, downloads that come through, maybe somebody in your life that help you with these challenges and conflicts you're facing. Also on Wednesday there could be this big emotional release related to children or creativity or passion projects or something like that, that kind of helps you to release maybe this mindset you've had around a creative passion or project, so you can really move into this new direction that's more aligned with your long-term goals and your long-term visions. Especially as we get into Thursday, there could be something about that that you want to take action on through maybe these revelations and these insights you've been getting and that have been building all week. There could be this big release Wednesday and Thursday around an old version of whatever it is you wanted to do, and realizing you actually want to do it differently and step into a new direction with it. That extends to later on Thursday as we have Mercury moving into your area of resources. So maybe whatever was coming up for you the 1st of November, or maybe even end of October, you've gotten more clarity around how to move forward with it and what to do about it. And now is the time to really start taking action towards that. As we get into the weekend, there could be a lot of transformation with whatever's going on. Um, related to all of that for you. I feel like there's a lot going on in various different areas of your life, Taurus, but especially on Friday, there's this emotional focus on what you do for work, or how you make money, or taking really good care of yourself in maybe new ways that you've put off or neglected. And that could create some positive transformation in your career as well, that maybe has been building for the past couple years. And there's this big shift on Friday that occurs around that. And maybe again, there's like supportive people that are coming in for you to help you with this and step into whatever this is in ways that maybe you've been needing to or wanting to. But on Saturday and into Sunday, there could be something about that maybe is triggering an old identity, triggering something in your subconscious that you didn't realize was there, like I talked about at the beginning of this video. There's a lot kind of coming to the surface right now about old identities that we're clearing out, that we're really just having a bigger cleanup with. And so over the weekend, there could be something emotionally triggering that as well. So you do some more cleanup work around whatever this is. There could be some also this feeling of fogginess, or this feeling of things not feeling super clear as we get into the weekend here, especially on Sunday. So there's a need for you to really listen to your intuition through spiritual practices or whatever helps you to do that more than ever. So you are really operating from alignment and moving forward in a way that's going to serve you versus keep you stuck in old ways. So that's the week ahead for you, Taurus. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Gemini Rising. We start your week off with the moon in your area of communication. You could be really busy at the start of the week, but just make sure that you're busy and you're filling your time with things that are joyful to you. Maybe this is related to people, spending time with people in new ways, and attracting new people in your life that you've been maybe um yeah, attracting to you, whether that's one person or multiple people that are new in your life, where you're just like building connections with people in new ways. It feels like there's some sort of struggle though, or conflict between that and your career, and what you're doing to build some reputation related to a spiritual pursuit or creative pursuit that you've been moving in this direction of for the past couple years. It feels like there might be something about a relationship that challenges that, and that maybe causes some friction or conflict. And it's coming up so that you evolve the way that you're doing both of these things, right? And moving forward in both of these areas of your life. And there could be some breakthrough around all of that that comes through on Tuesday of like, oh, actually, I just need to do it this way, or this is how to do this in a way that feels good to me. And this, it's really the beginning of the week is all about what is going to be most joyful for you, what is going to feel the best, what's going to be the most fun or playful, and how can you just kind of make it about that, as opposed to focusing overly on the conflict or overly focusing on the challenge of it. Like, how can you focus on, okay, what about it brings you joy, and really putting that at the forefront of what you're changing about it or what you're restructuring about it. As we get into Wednesday, there could be some breakthrough related to that, as it comes down to what you're doing for work or what you're doing with your schedule on a daily basis. There could be this breakthrough, you get clarity about on how what you need to change. It could be like this intuitive nudge or download. It could be this kind of quiet, like move in this direction, versus like maybe a chaotic kind of like, oh, it's no, it's kind of like a quiet intuitive knowing of like this breakthrough coming about within what you're doing for work, what you're doing to make money, and how you're going about it, in ways that are actually going to be beneficial for you moving forward, and really going to be in alignment for you ultimately. So really listen to whatever that is. And as we get further into the week, especially on Thursday, there could be the energy to really act on it. There could also be leading up to that a big emotional release related to home or family or childhood. And then as Mercury moves into Sagittarius on Thursday, there's this mental focus on your relationships. And you might be, kind of sharing what you're realizing with friends. And it's just important that you share it with people who are going to encourage you and support you because whatever you received a download about is what you're supposed to be doing. And if you share it with the like wrong people, quote unquote, who aren't going to understand it, or maybe like might feed some insecurity to you about it, it's going to maybe hinder your alignment with it. So it's super important you really only share it with people who are going to support it. Um, and that could maybe be the challenges and conflicts you're facing with relationships at this time and what you're wanting to do in career. There could be some negative things that are coming through people in your life that just don't understand. And it's just so important you don't talk about, what you want to do with those people that don't understand because it could hinder you moving in the direction you actually need to be moving into. It's like don't pay attention to the naysayers, don't give energy to the naysayers. Trust that you know what's best for you. Nobody else does. As we get into Friday, there's this emotional push and this emotional focus on creating something and putting it out into the world. This might be, what you've been getting these downloads about, where you've been getting these intuitive nudges about. There might be a lot of energy to act on it as we get into the weekend and really do it despite any naysayers that are coming through. Really don't pay attention to them. Pay them no mind because they don't know you like you know you. So it's really important you act on these things that you're getting these nudges to do instead of holding yourself back any longer. There could be something as we get further into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, that is really triggered in terms of like an old version of yourself that maybe did overly listen to people or did really overly take other people's advice. And it's triggering this. So you release that. You release that old identity and that old attachment to that version of yourself because you don't need to do that anymore. Like you don't need to listen to people anymore. You need to listen to yourself. And there's this big amplification of doing so and really acting from your inner knowing of what you want to do versus what other people would tell you is best. Especially as we get into Sunday, there could be more triggered around that. Again, coming to the surface so you fully release it in ways that maybe it was still there underneath the surface that you didn't realize. Trust your creative endeavors, trust your intuition to lead you at this time, even if things kind of feel a little wonky or feel a little spacey. It is what you're meant to be doing. So trust in that. And that's your week ahead, Gemini. I'll see you next week. Hi, Cancer Rising. We start your week off with the moon in your area of money. So you might be emotionally focused on your finances, your resources, your possessions, maybe going through stuff and really asking yourself, does this bring me joy? Is this what I want to have in my life or not? There's a lot of focus on, are you making money in ways that are really joyful to you? And are you doing what you want to be doing on a daily basis to bring in money and related to your work? There could be some things around that are really triggered into a deeper look on Monday and at the start of the week. Um, Again, it's all about, are you doing what you want to be doing for money? Are you doing what you want to be doing in your career and on a daily basis? And if not, it's time to make necessary adjustments. And there might be this big momentum or energy towards changing it or bringing in some new form of work for you that does feel joyful or having an outlet for that joy on Tuesday. There's this big focus on taking action towards that, even though it might challenge a mindset, it might challenge a perspective that you've had around what you're doing for work. And it could really challenge a belief system and maybe call you to a greater version of faith, to cultivate a greater spirituality with yourself and with whoever you believe in, God, the universe, whatever. It feels like on Wednesday, there could be some major mindset shift around that, and you could get this inspiring idea on what you want to do that is maybe different than what you thought you were going to be doing. Like there's this reevaluation that's happening with your long-term goals and visions. And maybe there's a mindset breakthrough or innovative shift that comes related to that on Wednesday. And that really kind of is this this energy of thinking outside the box and really kind of putting into question, calling into question an old perspective you've had, an old way that you viewed this, whatever this is. And it's just it's really challenging like your view of life and challenging these belief systems that maybe you didn't know were affecting this or holding you back from taking action on this. And there's this big release Wednesday and especially Thursday on your in your mindset around whatever this is. Like whatever your belief systems are, they're really being challenged right now to change so that they line up with what you want to do moving forward and they line up with the new goals and the new long-term vision you have for yourself that's changed that's maybe reemerged or that you've realized you actually want to put at the forefront and make a priority of your work and what you do for money. um that's especially a focus as Mercury now at the end of the week is back in your area of work and your area of physical health. So there could also be this focus on, okay, what helps me to nurture myself? What helps me to take care of myself? What helps me to feel expanded and free? What can I do and make a part of my daily routine and schedule that is going to help me to feel those things? Then as we get into Friday, there's this big emotional focus on your home and family. There could be something that shifts within your inner world related to everything that's come up earlier in the week, and this big kind of need to implement and take action um, on whatever you've realized you want to change. And then as we get into the weekend, there could be this downtime that's needed to reflect, to maybe again like have space to rest and really just sit with yourself and get inspiration, get like, more ideas or more I don't know, it's like you need to recharge as we get into the weekend so that you can move forward with this new thing, whatever it is, in a way that's aligned, and in a way that doesn't burn yourself out from doing too much. That could be also a focus of Saturday and Sunday as and there could be something that's triggered maybe, about an old identity in your career or an old sense of self that you've had, like an attachment to what you've been doing in your career that maybe, again, you're reevaluating and needing to detach from this idea of who you are or how you know yourself to be in terms of what you do for work and how you're known to people. There's something about that that's really triggered and challenged Saturday and into Sunday, that also really challenges you to expand in ways that nurture and support you and align with where you're headed, versus where you thought you needed to be and thought you needed to go. Like it's like your life is shifted and you need to embrace how it's shifting instead of thinking it was always going to be the way that it was. Does that make sense? So that's your week ahead, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Leo Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of you. So there could be a big emotional focus at the start of the week on you, maybe your appearance in some way, your identity, your sense of self. Maybe something has changed about you and the people you're attracting, the people you're surrounding yourself with. And on Monday, there's this big need to kind of learn how to balance that in ways that are going to benefit you. There could be something you're taking action on creatively as well, that feels more freeing for you moving forward. And so there's a lot of emotional momentum towards that, but it could also challenge something about your resources, or maybe an inner transformation that's been going on. It could really challenge these these internal things you've been processing, in a lot of ways. And then as we get into Tuesday, there's even more emotional amplification and potency towards taking action on whatever this creative thing is that you're doing or wanting to do. Um, Even though it does challenge maybe your inner world or your belief systems or your philosophies of life or your perspective, it's like this stuff is being challenged so that you are transforming what's going on underneath the surface in a way that's going to actually positively benefit you moving forward into this new life. It's almost like you identified with something and you're realizing you don't want that thing anymore or something. And so it's bringing up all of these kind of wounds around who are you without this thing, or who are you if you don't do this or do that or whatever. And it's really kind of challenging this version of yourself that you thought you were going to be forever. and really asking for you to transform it and to look deeper within yourself to ask like the real raw questions of like, okay, did I actually love doing this? Did that actually feel aligned for me? Or did I just do it because I thought I had to, or whatever it is? It's almost like this existential crisis that's kind of happening at the start of the week. And as we get into Wednesday, there could be something around that that really shifts in a big way, and that really shifts. And there's this breakthrough in your mindset around maybe from childhood or from family conditioning or whatever. Again, this inner world shift and transformation that is occurring for you in a massive way. And also on Wednesday, there could be an emotional release of something in your money or finances and your resources, maybe how you were making it, what you were doing for money, what you were doing to serve with your gifts. There could be this big need to shift how that's showing up in your actual life, and this kind of aha moment or this clarity about needing to do things differently, and ultimately that help you to feel more free in what you're doing and how you're sharing yourself and, like I said, your gifts with the world. There could be even more emotional momentum towards taking action on that as we get into Thursday. There's a lot of focus on your creative passions, projects, pursuits, maybe on romance or dating, as well, and approaching that in different ways, approaching that in new ways than the old version of you would have. There could be this thing that you're realizing you need to be really disciplined with as it relates to your money and moving forward with what you're doing creatively for that, or what you're changing about that to align better with your joy, align better with what is actually passionate for you versus just what you thought you had to do. Maybe these kind of there's these identity tie-ins to what you thought you had to do to make a lot of money, and you're realizing that's not actually how it needs to be. Um, there's something else I was getting for you, but it'll come back to me if it's meant. As we get into Friday, there's a lot of emotional harmony between, maybe this person you've attracted or somebody in your life has really come to show you that you can do things differently, and that like maybe you needed to innovate in order to step into the new in a lot of ways, and you were holding on to this old identity because there was fear around the new, and maybe this person is helping you to feel more brave or courageous and stepping into the new. And there's a lot of momentum towards that on Friday. But then as we get later into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, it could again really trigger those old identity things, and call for you to really shift them and expand what you've thought of as possible for yourself. Um, because you can't keep doing things the old way. The old way is dying, and there's a need for you to detach yourself from that way that's no longer working and step into the new, even if it is unknown or scary, and really challenges your psyche in a lot of ways as well. Like there's something about that that really triggers you, but it's really just kind of like you have to embrace the free fall and know that the net is going to catch you, and that you're called to make these changes and do these things for a reason. And it's not going to end up in failure, because there's no such thing. Like it is what you're meant to be doing, so embrace it. And that's what I have for you, Leo, for this week. So let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Virgo Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of the subconscious. There could be a lot that's coming up from your inner world at the start of the week, and maybe bringing about these needs to really shift maybe residual belief systems or residual conditioning that was passed down through family or from your childhood. Maybe about your ability to have joy or kind of like have a relationship with the inner child. There could be a lot of things about that is triggered coming to the surface at the start of this week, that you're realizing like, oh, this is still there and I need to nurture this part of me, or I need to like shift my approach to this so that it doesn't keep happening in the same way. I don't keep repeating the pattern that has been showing up for you there. There's this big identity shift around that too. And this big release of an old outdated belief system, style of communication that's coming from that as well, especially on Wednesdays. The moon is going to move into your area of you, bringing about emotional renewal as it relates to your sense of self. And also, there could be breakthroughs and mindset shifts as there's going to be a lot going on in your area of communication, your area of maybe even where you go on a daily basis and who you talk to on a daily basis, the ideas and information you're sharing and consuming. Maybe there's this cleanup that is happening in terms of all of that for you, and really realizing like there needs to be this release of an old identity that was keeping you kind of stuck in these patterns. Again, maybe challenges something about your home or your family, your relationship with those things. But it is coming to the surface so that you evolve and grow in the ways that are ultimately going to benefit you moving forward. Especially as we get into Thursday, there could be something really triggering about a home situation or a family situation, maybe also related to a relationship. But it does feel like the release of that tension and the release of those conflicts or challenges happen through your career, maybe creating something new in your career or kind of throwing yourself into work to channel that energy into something creative or channel that energy into something that's actually going to benefit you versus getting stuck in the energy of conflict or challenge that's going on in all these other areas. There's a lot of mental focus as well starting at the end of the week that shifts into your area of home and family. So there could be something that you're taking action on there, or maybe just kind of, I don't, it's like you're spending more time in your space, in your home, with yourself, and but it's not lonely. It's like you're doing it to expand. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but that's the energy. It's like you're spending more time within in this hermit mode, and really expanding through that in new ways. Although it might challenge what's going on with your relationships or what's going on with you, it is calling for an evolution due to that. Does that make sense? As we get into Friday, there's this emotional harmony between your money and what you're doing for work on a daily basis. Maybe, again, how you're taking care of yourself and the relationships that are nurturing you versus ones that aren't. And which ones are aligned with your long-term goals and visions. And maybe there's some stuff coming to light about that that you realize, especially as we get over the weekend into the weekend, it could really trigger this old version of yourself, again, to be looked at as it relates to money, as it relates to resources, like all the cleanup work you've been doing there for the past couple months. It could trigger these deeper wounds that are there around your gifts, your passion, your creativity, and calling for you to really look at the identity wrapped into that in a deeper way so that you shift it and you heal maybe some wounds or triggers that are still there, blocking you from the new, or stagnating you from the new. I don't like to use the word blocking, but that's that's really the energy as we end out the week. So that's what I have for you, Virgo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Libra Rising. We start your week off with the moon in your area of community, in your area of social media, as well as long term goals and visions. So there could be something around that that really shifts and is kind of kind of pressured into a transformation related to what you're doing with your creative gifts and with your passions and how you're sharing those with the world. There could be a lot that comes up for you to shift around that on Monday, maybe related to what you're doing with it and around it, how you're taking action on it, what you're doing on a daily basis to like move in that direction. There could be something that challenges you about your day to day, that also kind of maybe keeps you from, or is kind of, it's like this conflicting energy between what you do on a daily basis, what you have been doing, the momentum that's happening there, and what you want to really build long term in terms of your work and related to spiritual or creative things. Like, what are you building long term as it relates to how you make money and your creative gifts? There might be something that's kind of pulling your energy away from that in your day to day, who you talk to or where you go on a daily basis. And it's kind of like the two areas are at odds with one another, but again, just really focus on what is gonna bring you joy in your day to day. How can you bring more of that into the focal point of your day to day of like, okay, does this bring me joy? No, then don't do it or take it off your plate. Like you can come back to it another time or whatever it is, like really trusting in the flow of where your soul and your energy and your excitement is led to on a daily basis is going to help a lot with all these shifts. Especially on Tuesday, there's a lot of positive momentum towards what you're doing on a daily basis related to what helps you to feel free and expanded and fun and adventurous. That's also going to support your long term goals and visions and what's changing about your work, your career, how you make money. There could be a lot of insights and downloads that come through about that on Wednesday. You might take some time to yourself or alone in order to kind of emotionally process some things. And because of that, you get these downloads or insights about what you want to create or what you want to do as it relates to how you're making money. And maybe there's this mental or mindset transformation that happens as a result of that. And it, maybe even what you're reflecting on all of November gets this kind of like aha moment, this epiphany that comes through. Um, and it kind of shifts how you're viewing everything. And it could also be this emotional release in your subconscious related to that as well, related to your mindsets, how you're viewing everything. There could be this emotional release too of, again, maybe somebody in your life that you've been spending a lot of time with, or a lot of energy around, or a place you've been going on it. Like that could really, what's going on in your subconscious and you shifting these things and releasing this old baggage could really change or conflict with what you want to do on a daily basis. Does that make sense? As we get into the weekend on Friday, there's going to be this mental focus on where you're going, who you're talking to. There could also be this influx of you sharing your ideas and wanting to share information related to the downloads and insights you got on Wednesday. There could be something, again, about your emotional inner state that maybe challenges that or challenges your ability to act on something you want to do in your day to day or act on somewhere you want to go. But it does feel like later on Friday that clears and there's this emotional renewal of yourself and maybe even your relationships too, related to what you're creating, what you're putting out into the world. It feels like there's this newfound inspiration that comes or these newfound ideas that come related to all the shifts you've made all week. And there's more clarity that comes as we get into Saturday of like what you want to do and how you want to move forward. But then on Sunday, there could be something about all that that triggers something or brings up an old wound in your relationships, maybe even with your career or something like that, maybe related to childhood or related to your home. Again, you might feel this need to really pull back your energy from a lot of people and places and spend more time with yourself and spend more time on with like, okay, what actually nurtures me? What is in alignment for me? Like what helps me to be in alignment? And so there's a big focus on that through whatever it feels really triggering on Sunday. There's this need to reevaluate what you're doing to take care of yourself on a daily basis and what you're doing for you versus other people. So that's your week ahead, Libra. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Scorpio Rising. We start your week off with the moon in your area of career and public image. You might be really busy at the start of the week with what's going on in your kind of external world, but it could also challenge or add tension to a transformation that's happening in your home or with family. But there's a lot of positive momentum towards what you're doing for work and in your career and what's going on with your money. There's a lot of focus on your money, your resources. Maybe you're literally cleansing possessions or cleansing something about your work or how you make money or your finances in general, to actually support bringing more joy and cultivating more joy into your life. It could be related to something that's been really triggering you in your work or in you with maybe with health. Again, kind of related to these shifts of like your home or your family, and then also like what brings you joy and really putting that at the forefront of your life and making any needed transformations to how you view yourself or how you view the world around you to line up to support what actually is going to be fun and joyful for you and maybe help you to express these creative passions or outlets that you've been building or been wanting to build and taking action towards. There could be a big shift around that, maybe related to a relationship or somebody in your life that's supportive for you as we get into Wednesday. And the moon moves into your area of long-term goals and visions. So there's a lot of emotional energy on refining anything in your life that doesn't line up with what you want to do moving forward, especially as it relates to your creative passions and your gifts and what you've been doing and building and taking action on there. That helps you to feel more free or expanded or more aligned with like what you actually want to be doing. Again, this is all about what brings you joy and how can you build more of that energy and release whatever doesn't bring you joy. There's this big energy as we end out the week, especially Thursday, on releasing what doesn't feel fun for you and taking action on maybe something that does, maybe related to, again, a new career or a new job or just what you're doing within your work and what you're doing to make money. It feels like there's this need to really shift or take action on something that is different than what you had been doing because maybe the joy faded away from what you had been doing. And there's this focus on, okay, now that I've realized that it's time to take action on it. But there could be something about that maybe on Friday that is challenged, like maybe something with your money really challenges your ability to make some refinements or changes to your long-term goals or visions. It feels like there's conflicting energy, but it also is at the same time this harmony that comes from it. Like maybe you wanted to go in this one direction and that isn't really working out and you're realizing like, oh, it actually benefits me more to go in this other direction that feels easier and is more harmonious in the long run, even if it's not what I thought I was going to be doing or thought was going to come about for me. And it feels like that harmony extends Friday into Saturday as the moon harmonizes with what's going on in your home and what transformation and change you're making to your home or your family life in some way. It does feel like there's emotional support around that as we get into the weekend, although it could, again, trigger this old identity you've had with what you do on a daily basis and where you go. It's all kind of wrapped into everything else, right? Like it's all tied in together. And it's really about healing these wounds that maybe were um passed, not even yours, like maybe passed down from family or through your childhood of like these constructs of what life should be or what life has to be. And it's kind of like they're being triggered for you to look at because it's not how your life is meant to be. And so there's a lot of like in as we get into the weekend, especially on Sunday, like internal shifts that occur within your subconscious, within your belief systems. So you can step into this new thing. Um, like I said at the beginning of the video, stepping into this new thing from with nothing from the past left behind. And it does feel like everything's gonna click and everything's gonna come together and make sense around that as we end out the week. So that's your week ahead, Scorpio. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Sagittarius Rising. We start your week off with the moon in your area of perspective, of philosophies of life, how you're viewing the world around you. There could be these big shifts on Monday that come about in relation to what you're doing on a daily basis, where you're going here, talking to maybe also communication patterns or belief systems are coming up for you to shift and change and bring more energy into your life that's joyful and more focused on what does bring me joy. How can I view life from that place? And really cultivate more of a relationship with that in my sense of self, in my identity, in my inner world, to have it mirrored to me on the external. A lot of momentum towards that as well on Tuesday as the moon in your area of perspective adds positive energy to what's going on in your sense of self, what's changing about your identity. That could also be challenging something or adding some conflict to what's going on in your home or what's going on with family. Again, maybe these inner childhood beliefs or things like that as well. There could be some shifts that are occurring due to that, due to your home situation or family situation, that are also affecting your work or your physical body, your physical health in some way. And there's this need to kind of look at again, your what you're doing on a daily basis and really analyze it from a place of, does this bring me joy? Is this fun for me? And you need to release it if it doesn't. You need to release anything that doesn't bring you joy. And there's this big, as we end out the week, as we get into the middle and end of the week, there's this big focus on kind of cleaning it up. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's a big focus this week on refining things and cleaning up things that are further kind of hindering us from stepping forward into the new chapter and having ease with it. So there could be some things on Wednesday that you get a lot of mindset shifts around, or you get some epiphanies about how to move forward and do things differently. And as we get into Thursday, there's this big emotional release related to something in your career, or something in your, maybe you thought that you needed to be known as or seen as in your career moving forward. And there's this big momentum towards changing that. And it also feels like it challenges your identity to evolve along with it. Then as we get into Friday, there's this tension between you and your home and your career, and that could be kind of eased or quelled through a relationship. Somebody in your life, maybe talking through things with somebody in your life to help with these challenges and conflicts that are happening in all these other areas of your life. Because there's this big maybe fog that lifts, or this energy of mental renewal as well as we get into the weekend. Now that Mercury is back in Sagittarius, and there's this focus on, okay, how are you sharing ideas? How are you sharing information in ways that actually align with you and bring you joy? And maybe speaking up for yourself in ways you had not wanted to before, or speaking your truth in ways that you had kind of hindered yourself from before, or suppressed yourself from before. As we get into later on Friday and into Saturday, the moon is moving through your area of long-term goals and visions, also community, friendship. So there could be a lot of momentum and positive harmony between who you're talking to on a daily basis, where you're going, the support you have through your relationships and through your friendships, that are helping you to step into this new version of yourself that's a little more ruthless than you used to be, a little more outspoken than you used to be. That could really, again, challenge things from childhood, or challenge these kind of inner beliefs and mindsets you've had about yourself, and maybe not wanting to speak up for yourself. And that could especially be triggered on Sunday, and prompting for you to release this old identity so you can expand into the new and heal the things from the past. So that's the week ahead for you, Sagittarius. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Capricorn Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of resources. There could be some emotional transformation or change that happens with your money, with resources. Maybe you're going through things and clearing things out, or maybe you're finally like taking some action towards something in your resources that you wanted to transform for a while, you wanted to change for a while, and now the energy and momentum is here to do so. There could also, an alignment with that, along with that, be this kind of tension, or challenges between what you're doing on a daily basis and shifts that are happening within your subconscious, or things that are coming to light that you need to take action on that you didn't maybe realize were there. And it could really challenge like what you're doing or where you're able to go on a daily basis. As we get into Tuesday, there could be some harmony between all that, though. Maybe finding a solution, figuring out something, maybe that is healing for you and brings you some sort of cathartic release within childhood wounds or family dynamics, or a home life that's kind of also been a focus of these maybe wounds been brought up through relationship or through people you've been spending time around that are kind of triggering this old identity, or triggering this old childhood stuff. And it could also all come to light on Tuesday to be released and to be looked at in new ways, so you don't take it forward with you into the new year. Like I said at the beginning of this video, there's a lot of these old outdated patterns and dynamics coming up that maybe were still within us in subtle ways, and you are no exception to feeling that this week, Capricorn. As we get into Wednesday, especially, there could be something about all of that that is really triggered within you, to release, to heal. There could be some breakthrough insight around whatever was coming up for you in November, whatever you were reevaluating as it relates to your long-term goals and visions. And there could be this idea, this epiphany you get about how to move forward on that, maybe related to a creative passion or project. And then as we get into Thursday, there's a major emotional release as it relates to a perspective of life, a belief system, this old outdated mindset, maybe related to those identity shifts you've been experiencing. And maybe this subconscious wound comes up that you're like, oh, that's actually what was going on. There it is. Now I can shift it because I see it now. There's a lot that's coming up from underneath the surface and bubbling up so that, again, you can heal it, you can shift it, you can move forward without it hindering your ability to do so, to move forward. As we get into Friday, there's this big shift as well related to your communication styles or belief systems, maybe from everything that's been kind of coming up and building all week. And you're really starting to see things differently. You're really starting to view life differently. There could also be this shift that occurs as we get into the weekend around your mental expansion and feeling more mentally clear or feeling more able to get ideas. There could be stuff coming through your dreams as well. So pay attention to that. Um, and later on Friday, there's this emotional shift into your career. So you might be taking these ideas forward into what you're doing for money or for work or whatever's going on in your career or what's changing about how you make money. There's this harmony towards taking action on it and doing it related to these inner changes that have been occurring as we get into the weekend. But then on Sunday, there could be something about that that's further triggered, maybe again related to home and family and relationships and what's going on there. There's a lot that you're working through in your inner world. And while there's an emotional focus on Sunday in your career, there's also this need to put that energy into yourself and kind of maybe really give back to yourself in ways you hadn't or you're realizing you need to in order to feel supported and feel expanded in every other area that feels kind of challenging at the moment. So that's your week ahead, Capricorn. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Aquarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of relationships. There could be something, some big transformation that's happening between your relationships and you. Maybe there's an emotional focus on your relationships at the start of the week, but it's adding attention to like, changes that are happening with your identity, with your sense of self. So there could be something around that that feels emotionally challenging. And maybe there's something that also because of that is helping you to identify a new long-term goal or vision you want to change or you want to take action on, but that could also challenge something about your money, something about your finances or your resources. But it feels like that kind of resolves itself as we get further into the week, although at the start of the week it does feel challenging. There could be some answers around that even on Tuesday, maybe around what to take action on or what to do as we move forward into the new. And you get this kind of, there's more momentum towards changing something, doing something differently as it relates to maybe your community, your friendship, social media, long term goals and visions as well. Like there's maybe this fog that clears up a little bit towards all of that, and you suddenly realize what you need to do or what you actually need to be committed to versus what you thought you had to be committed to before. That amplifies on Wednesday. There could be some big breakthrough related to your career, changes you're making there. That kind of adds tension to your home or your family dynamics, or maybe even changes you've wanted to make there. It feels like everything about your life is kind of changing and transforming. And it's like, what do I do about this? How do I make the most of it? And it feels like the answers are coming, but not as fast as you had hoped they would. But they are resolving themselves. They are clearing up. Like it is, you are getting the information you need as we get further into the week. And it's like, just take it as it comes and embrace a little like stepping stones because it's not, it can't all come at once or it would overwhelm you. So it's like, trust that it's all happening as it needs to get you where you want to go and you're realizing you want to be. As we get into Thursday, there could be some big emotional release related to a mindset, maybe in with money or with resources, with some maybe version of perfectionism. You thought you needed to do things this way or do things that way, and it's like, oh no, actually, I don't. But that also is triggering this old identity in you, and to release these old versions of yourself that thought you needed that in order to do what you want to do, and is realizing you don't. Um, Wow, lots of big shifts for you, especially as we get into Friday. It feels like there's harmony between all that's been building all week and these emotional shifts you've been making, these transformation you've been having. It does feel like it's very supported on Friday. There could be breakthroughs that come about. You're like, "Oh, this is actually how I wanna do this. This is how I wanna go about this." And the challenges helped you to kind of evolve and make necessary changes that are actually gonna benefit you moving forward, and you realize that as we end out the week. But there could be something about that that maybe is a little triggering, maybe again brings up these kind of old, outdated beliefs or ways of viewing things, and how you do things as we get into Sunday. There could be something really emotionally triggering about that on Sunday. Maybe that happens with work or happens with your health and kind of prompts you to further look at what's going on in your inner world. That's maybe hindering you from moving fully forward in the ways that you are realizing you want to. So that's what we had for you, Aquarius. So let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Pisces Rising. We start your week off with the moon in your area of day-to-day work, health, routine. There could be some emotional tension added to a transformation that's going on in your inner world related to that. It feels like though, because of that, what you want to do and what you are doing in your career and building this reputation for yourself, maybe in a new way or maybe in a way that feels more fun and expansive for you, gets a lot of positive momentum. And there's a lot of energy towards inspiration and ideas and taking action on these things that maybe you've been mulling over for quite some time. The start of the week for you feels like a lot of forward momentum and positive changes related to what actually you want to be doing in your career, for work, for money, what actually is joyful for you, what actually is fun for you, and fully stepping into that. But it does feel like it could challenge this sense of self that's been changing, this identity, this version of yourself that you've been growing out of, and stepping into some sort of new, like it's like you shed your old skin and you're really being challenged to evolve that as we get into this week, especially on Tuesday. But it does feel like I said, there's a lot of positive momentum towards those changes happening and making them in ways that are ultimately beneficial for you and more joyful. Like it really feels like you're stepping into more joyful things than what you have been doing. And there could be some big mindset shift or perspective shift related to all of that on Wednesday. We're gonna have this kind of rare transit. It happened with Mercury retrograde in November, so it might be something you've already been focused on mentally and was reevaluating in November. And now that things are moving forward again, it's like you're implementing it. So there could be some big mindset shift as we get into the middle of the week. Also on Wednesday, we have the moon moving into your area of relationships. So there could be support coming through a relationship for you, but it could also like positive advice or helpful advice through somebody in your life. But it also could maybe challenge, your values in your work, your values in your career, or maybe like what actually feels more fun and exciting for you. So it's like take the advice with a grain of salt. Um, and apply it as it resonates with you. There could also be some big emotional release related to somebody in your life on Thursday. It doesn't have to be romantic. It's like anybody in your life. This could be an emotional release around maybe just how you're viewing people, or who you're working with, who you're talking to on a daily basis. There could be changes around that as well, that further support these new things you're stepping into and this new version of yourself you're stepping into. It could literally be setting a boundary with somebody in a way that you had been avoiding. As we get into Friday, there's emotional harmony between your resources and between what's going on in your subconscious that you're changing, that you're evolving, that you're transforming. So, again, there's a lot of focus on your inner world as we get into the weekend and what's going on there to also shift everything in your external life, right? It feels like there's a lot more harmony towards making changes in your internal world to shift the changes that are happening in your external world. It's like they're feeding each other and they're balancing each other out, even if it does feel challenging at times. And one of those challenging times could be could be Saturday into Sunday, as we're going to have the moon adding tension to your money wounds and triggers that are coming up about resources and money and feeling supported by it. It could also challenge something that's expanding within your creative passions or something you're wanting to expand within your pursuits or your projects. But it does feel like just, stay steady to your goal that you have and don't let yourself get sidetracked just because there's a little setback or there's a little challenge that you didn't anticipate. It is ultimately helping you to grow and evolve. in ways that are going to get you to where you're headed. So just remember your faith, remember to believe in yourself and what you're doing, and that you're led to it for a reason, and you wouldn't be on the path that you are if it wasn't meant for you. So just don't let these setbacks hold you back and keep you back from doing what you want to do. Um, so that's your week ahead, Pisces. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for sticking around for another video, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you all. Bye.